everybody. Welcome to ValueMetrics.tv, powered by ValueMetrics.ai, where we speak with incredible HR leaders and get to know the secrets on how to build amazing workforce. Today, we have Rakhi Pundir with us, who is super experienced in this space. She's currently an HR director. Rakhi, I would love for you to introduce yourself to our
Okay.
audience.
Hi. Thanks, Pooja. Thanks for having me here. I'm Rakhi Pundi Pardeja. Currently, working as HR director for Vision Spring Foundation. I'm a person totally passionate about HR. I thrive in people complexities. That's my forte. And observing people, understanding people, and reading people behavior is something I'm truly passionate about. In 20 years of my experience, I have worked with startups, starting from the incubators of IIT Delhi. So, ranging from retail to tech to deep tech is the kind of organizations I have worked with. Building people processes and also trying to solve people challenges with these organizations. I also then later on went on to study because I always feel that learning is a constant process and it should always go on.
How organizations are approaching talent.
Um, I would say earlier we were hiring people for their experiences that they had in the past. That if I am hiring a retail store manager and if I have 10, 15, 20 years of working in that retail store, I would get easily hired. The shift right now is more towards skills. Yeah, the mindset shift of doing the work is not just based on the number of years of experience, it's also based on your intent, it's based on your skill set. That's how I believe is how the process initiated, and that's also reflecting in the recruitment world.
I think that makes a lot of sense too. That if you're focused on the skills, it's easier for you to align people in the right direction. So, in that sense, we always receive resumes when we're trying to hire people. So, do you think resumes are the correct way to assess talent? They're the correct way to figure out whether a person is fit for the organization or not?
I would say it's complex. A resume is your snapshot of your experiences. So if I go to if I look at myself, if I have to go out and find a job for myself, can I go and give as many interviews as many job openings are present in the market? Practically it is not possible, and in 10x frame it is also not possible for the recruiter on the other side to interview as many people. So I would say resume is your photograph which you have to present in the right manner, because saving time for both the recruiter as well as the person who's applying is important. So yes, your resume matters. uh, how good it is that it is clearly portraying what you want to portray to the recruiter on the other side is even more important. And at times I feel that is it is not justified because of the AI. And if you apply through LinkedIn, if you apply through Indeed, and the AI skill set match, is it happening in the right way? Is it happening in the right how do I say, is it happening in the right proportion? Is something which is questionable to me. However, I'm a firm believer of that AI is changing the world and we need to evolve with it. But are we on it? Is the game really up? Is something that we have to reflect still. That's what I believe.
It's very interesting. You mentioned that AI is also getting involved in the whole HR space, specifically in the recruitment part. So does that also evolve the role of a recruiter?
Yeah, definitely. So, having worked with an organization where we were once we were really ramping up our operations. We wanted to hire around 100 people in say 20 days of time. That was the time when AI actually helped a lot. We initiated the initial round with the video recordings, and we did not have to spend time. So it was in auto mode where the questions were set, and we were looking at those recordings if they were matching up to the criteria that was set up by us. That saved a lot of time for us
Mhm.
and a lot of productivity of the recruiter also. So yes, AI is changing the game. It is changing the game for the recruiters also. How we utilize it and how effectively are we able to put our requirements in that is so I would say the onus is on us for that. So yes, the game is changing and we are getting better at it.
So just building on that thought that the onus is eventually on us.
Yeah.
So definitely AI brings in a lot of efficiency. It saves time. Recruitment is more accelerated now. But there also has to be a balance between AI's efficiency and still that essential human touch to ensure that recruitment still has a human process to it.
A team or setup is a very very scientific method, I would say. uh, you need all kinds of people in a team to make it a successful or a high performing team. When I say different kind of people, I need somebody who is a planner in the team. I need somebody who is an uh, executor in the team. I need somebody who is also a motivator. I need somebody who is an organizer, and need somebody who's a leader. Right. So if I just hire leaders, I will never perform. If I just hire organizers, I will keep organizing the entire project, which will never convert. So for me as a person, team hiring is a very, very scientific method. And when I say I have to measure the energies, I have to see that, okay, I have my organizers, I have my planners. Do I need a motivator or do I need somebody who's an executor in my team for the particular role or for the particular skill set which I'm? And hence, skill set hiring also plays an important role. So the entire picture, I have that balcony view of my team, of which my the work which we will be doing. I need to just plug and play the right person with the right skill set and with the right energies. Because if it's a motivator, I need somebody who's always motivated to come on ground, even if it's highs and lows of the workflow. If I need an executor, I need somebody who knows how to pause, because continuous execution will burn out that person. So those are the simple plays which I personally look for when I'm going for hiring, when I help others hire for their team. So yeah, it's purely science, I would say. It's not just guesswork.
And I think that is something our audience would love to know because most of the people are constantly juggling between finding a skilled person versus finding a person who can actually create a great team. These two sometimes are very opposing kind of personalities, right? Um, so let's build on that further as well. That if you want to build a great team.
While our managers come to us with a job description, as HR, what we try to match is the skill set, because job descriptions are defining the job that the manager wants a person to be doing, whereas we somehow at times forget that, if say I'll give you an example here. For example, I'm hiring somebody for business development, right? I know in business development I need people who can do the groundwork of report writing. At times managers come to us and they come to us with an expectation that I need somebody who can put the foot in the door, who can open up new avenues, get us new donors, who can give a lot of donations, but we also need somebody who can do that micro level report writing. I i go back to them and tell them that we have to actually, we when I was in the Netherlands, there was a saying, hiring manager needs a sheep with 5 legs, right? Which is never there. You will never find a sheep which has 5 legs, right? So we have to go back to the hiring manager and tell them that you need to break up the requirement. Yes, this is your job description and you need one person to be winning the world for you, but actually people are such, we are all human beings. You need to break this up. Probably you need an executor or you need somebody who can do the top level work for you.
Mhm.
So going back to the manager, asking to break down the problem is a challenge, because then budget constraints come into the picture. So that I would say, matching expectation setting versus skill set match is a gap and is also a hiring pain point for us, because expectations are way too large as compared to what a human being can perform at times.
So it all eventually goes back to the hiring managers and the way they present it all comes back to their own retrospectives. The more they introspect, the better people we hire.
Yeah.
uh, Now when you're hiring people, you're also expecting long-term success,
Hmm.
not only of the candidate but also of the organization. And you also want candidates who have potential to grow, evolve beyond their current skills. So how do you measure that when you're trying to hire somebody?
See, we try to do a lot of not a lot, but we do a particular psychometric testing, uh, which we do while we are interviewing the candidate. Uh, to me, that has helped me a lot personally when I'm specifically hiring for senior level profiles, because if I read through the results of that psychometric test during the interview and question my candidates on that, a lot of honest truth comes out of them, and a lot of acceptance that okay, if I read that I've been managing a large team, but then at times I've been impatient. Yes, we are all human beings, we get impatient while managing larger teams, but to what extent, and as an organization, is it acceptable to me, and what, at what level is it, like what is my intensity of acceptance, of impatience? Do I have a team which will accept this level of micromanagement? So it's a two-way process. One, I get to know about my candidate honestly, and if it's a good psychometric test, and second, I also get to measure whether the candidate is will be able to adjust well to my team or not. So that is one thing which I think is phenomenally helpful to me, and I would recommend that everybody should do that, especially when you are hiring people for leading larger teams.
So we talked about senior leadership, but you also mentioned Gen Zs in your initial discussion. Let's talk about that a little bit. Are Gen Zs accepting of this shifting hiring mechanism where AI is also introduced? Are they skeptical? Are they accepting? What kind of experience are they looking for? Um, and how do you hire Gen Zs and how do you match with their value systems and their expectations? So I know it's a multifaceted question, but the more you're able to tell us, the better.
There are different people from different planets altogether, I would say. When I say I have two children, one of them is that, and it takes effort in understanding them. They're also people. I will give you an example. We recently had a strategy meeting of our senior leadership where we had one Gen Z representation. This person is assisting our top leader, and the it was a heart wrenching experience because the person literally, said that this is the area where I need your help. And what I could sense was that we all were speaking this exactly the same thing what the person was asking for, but our language was different, right? So to come closer to Gen Z, it is, I think the onus is on us as millennials to learn their language. I was looking at one, YouTube video of one professor of an American high school, where the professor literally learned. He said that learning languages is always, it's an experience of self development. So this professor went ahead and learned the language of Gen Z, not Gen Z. In fact, he went ahead and learned the language of say, Gen Alpha, which is a next level language. And then he gave his high school speech to them, and the way the children connected with him, and he was exactly speaking what he wanted to speak as their teacher, the message he wanted to convey. But only the usage of words was that those students understand. So can you understand the shift in perspective? We might want them to be doing the work if you go ahead and use the language which they want to listen, I think we will win this game. It's not difficult to win them over. They are also simple human beings, and we need to be more. Millennials need to be a little bit more resilient and wear their learning hat, try and understand because these people are new to this world. These people are yet to gain their experience. That's how we do it here when I hire Gen Zers or and in fact we also take at times Gen Alpha students who want to do their student internship. We try and understand their perspective. While they do not want too much of human interaction, they're okay to talk to people who understand their language. So we try to be that for them.
So this also helps us build more empathy, right? I mean, we grow in the process as well, like you mentioned. So on that note, there's just one last question that I have for you. If you could give one advice to all the CHROs who are watching this podcast right now, what is the biggest advice you would give to them so they can improve their hiring processes?
Oh, that's a big question. Everybody who's watching must reach to that level because they're doing something great. And I think we need to move forward, but not forget going backwards. Uh, right. And when I say that, move forward comes with continuous learning, be it learning the language of Gen Z, be it learning the language of Gen Alpha, be it learning implementation and integration of AI into our processes. We should keep going back to the basics where we do understand that we are human beings. We come with our emotions. When we come to work, we come with our own emotional baggage. So if I'm able to build that balance, I think there is no looking back, and the organizations will set for success. Because people are doing their work, but what they need is in HR support and empathy, a person who with who can give them a unbiased ear, and then to whom they can come and speak with. So as HR, I think we need to keep learning, keep evolving ourselves continuously, so that we keep our pace with Gen Z and then Gen Alpha, and then the AI and all the changes which AI is getting into the job uh, arena of the world today. While also keep going back, like you said, you look into the various Indian mythological management styles. So we keep going back to activities like Manthan, where we are discussing and we are brainstorming, and we keep going back to the chuck reviews where we create strategy and we create a path to step out of that. uh, so if we bring together the two the two different strategies, we are set for winning.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rakhi. With that, we want to thank you for blessing this podcast with your amazing wisdom. And to everybody watching the show, if you want more content like this, if you want more leaders like Rakhi to come on our show, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
Thank you so much, Pooja, for having me here and for giving me the platform to share my knowledge, my thoughts. And if it's really helped anybody, I'm really, really thankful. Thanks once again, Pooja.
Thank you.